of May. The refinishers crew is about marketing, advertising, branding. But the most significant part of what we're going to go through is about being professional. The people I'm training are all business owners, and they are generally small businesses. And it's pretty much a certain or a given that they haven't had any type of training around business or marketing. So I want to go through the basic things that you should be doing as a business owner. Now, I can see through Ryan's, he's got a jumper on with chips away.
Yeah.
That's great. So we've already got somebody telling people who he is and what he does. And it is something as simple as that, where it's amazing how just having branded clothing can have an effect on the people around you. Because if I go to a car show, which is something I do quite a lot, I actually wear different colour t-shirts. And again, if I'm doing training to a business, I've got shirts that I wear that are different colour. And the reason why I do that is because I want to stand out, or sometimes I want to blend in. So, for example, if I went to somewhere like the NEC, which is a massive place, and it could be Auto Mechanica, the clothes that I wear, I do it on purpose. I will wear a bright orange t-shirt. So who knows why I would do that? What thoughts have you got as to why I'd wear a bright orange t-shirt?
Oh, attention to yourself.
Yeah.
Stands out.
So why? So on. So give me an idea of why it's important.
Somebody sees this bright orange t-shirt, they're going to look at what is written on it, who you are, what you're doing, and they're going to remember the guy in the bright orange t-shirt.
Absolutely. Perfect. Guess what colour t-shirts most people wear at type of car shows or Auto Mechanic or anything like that?
Black.
Everybody wears black. You try finding somebody in a sea of black.
Yeah.
It's a nightmare. So I have got a black t-shirt, and I'll explain to you the reason why I'm wearing that tonight, and not an orange one and not my white one. So I'll wear an orange t-shirt because I know nobody else will be wearing one. So do it to stand out. Now, you need to apply that same logic to your business. It doesn't matter whether it's in the clothes that you wear, materials that you use as part of your advertising and marketing, your Facebook page, your Instagram page, TikTok, your website. You want to make what you do distinctive. You need to stand out over and above everybody else that's out there. What you also want to do is have people recognize you for that. So for me, people will see that and they will now associate that with Motor Claim Guru, and they'll associate that with Tim Kelly because all my branding is orange. And again, there's a specific reason for that as well. So put your hand up if you hear the colour wheels.
What?
So we've got one. Chad, yeah. So do you know the significance of a colour wheel? So what a colour wheel does is it shows how people associate with different colours and the effect it has on them. So if, as an example, you had red in your branding, it's quite hard to look at. So it might stand out, but if I did you a Word document and I wrote in red, it can hurt your eyes after a while when you try to see it. And you're like, oof. And again, if you got it on your website, it's a bit harsh. Now, if you did it in blue, again, it might be softer, but because it's softer, it's not as distinctive and it can be hard to read as well. So having something in a written format where you want people to understand it, I'd always do it in a black text rather than any other colour. Now, I see people having business cards and they don't quite grasp the concept of whatever they're putting on their business card, dependent on the background, you can't read it. You've got to look at whatever you're putting out there. What's the point in doing what you're doing? You want people to see it and standing out. So, as an example, the reason why I'm wearing the black shirt tonight is that it's very clear because it's on a black background and it's dark in the background behind me. That pops out. If I wore my orange shirt, it wouldn't. And again, with a white one, it still would, but not as great. So it's about the image you want to present. And that's the key thing to everything in terms of running a business and your advertising, your marketing. You want everything that you do to stand out and be distinctive and clear. So if you're looking at that, it might be a bit hard to read with it being a bit far away, but because there's nothing obscuring it, it's quite clear, isn't it? So even though it's on a t-shirt, it's a bit far away from the camera, it pops out. So all of the things that you do in everything that you do, I will narrow this down to make a bit more sense out of it. You might think I'm being a bit wishy-washy with it. You want to do it so it stands out over and above anything else, but it's also clear and distinctive. So going back to its most simplest ways, all the things that you will do selling as part of your business is communication. So this could be people who are walking into your business and say, I want an estimate for something. Or it could be somebody who sends you a message by way of Facebook. It could be on Instagram, on TikTok. It could be somebody sends you an email. So if I was to send you an email, what impression do you think I would get if it just said like Tim Kelly at hotmail.com compared to Tim Kelly at mostclaimguru.co.uk? So what impression do you think each one would give?
The first one, you could be anyone. It's very, you haven't spent money on a domain, or you haven't spent money on making yourself look professional.
Yeah.
Your second one, there's investment in it. You could be anything. You could have spent anything. You could be any size. You could be a one-man band, or you could have 100 people working for you. It's you don't know. You don't know what investment has been.
Also looks like a personal email, so it might not, you might not do it as a full-time thing. You might just be some random person as a hobby doing it that we might not trust as much.
Yeah. Russ, what do you think?
Mhm.
So what are your thoughts?
Yeah, it's. I mean, to be fair, my email is still set up on Hotmail from when I very first started. But that's because the companies I work with now, they automatically know it and have it. But going forward, it's not going to help me out.
No. So if I was to contact you by way of email, what image do you think it'd present to me? So do you think it? So I've not, I don't know you. I don't know your business. I don't know your body shop. All I've done, somebody's recommended me and said, "Oh, just drop this guy an email." What image would you think I'd get out of it just by seeing your email address?
I think you'd know what I did with, you know what I mean, because it's not a personal Hotmail account. It is under Platinum Bodyworks.
Yeah.
But it is still just under Hotmail, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So you might wonder about the relevance of this, but if it had a Hotmail account attached to the end of it, or it had a .co.uk at the end of it, for the labour rate you charge, which of those two addresses would you think would be charging a higher labour rate and which one would be a lower?
.co.uk.
UK would be higher.
Yeah. Why?
Looks more professional.
Yeah. So
sounds like a bigger company.
Yeah. So, and again, so this is all the time you need to get into the heads of the people who might use your services. But the key thing is you need to understand the reason why you're in business is to make profit. Simple as that. And starting off with the most simplistic of things by way of an email address means you're not charging as much as what you should be doing because of the image you're presenting right at the very start of what you're doing, just in the way you communicate. If people don't know who you are and what you are, you need to educate them. You need to make them understand that you are a professional business and that in line with that, they're going to have an expectation of a level of service. So again, if you think about having something where it's got like a .co.uk at the end of it, it's complete, it's not a Hotmail account or your account, do you think you're going to get a better or worse level of service as a presumption from what you've got? You can have somebody, I'll give you an example, actually. Because I don't think you'll mind about it. We had an interesting conversation. This particular scenario I'm explaining about now isn't something that just links to the body repair network, so body repair side of it. It's something endemic with people who work in the insurance industry, and independent engineers are just the same. And in the same way you've gone from being a painter, panel beater, MET guy, and then you've started up, you started up your own business. and then you've suddenly morphed into being a business owner and you've not really put much thought into it. People who worked in the insurance industry as engineers have done the same thing. So they've gone being, working as a staff engineer, been made redundant to start their own job up. And then they'll go, I'll tell you what, I'll be an independent engineer. I'll start my own company up. So one of my colleagues, who's a really good engineer called Phil Rilth, is actually a forensic fire engineer. And if you look at his email address, at yahoo.com. And I said to him, for what you're doing, and he's not got a website either. I said, for what you're doing, why don't you just set a website up and set it up? And for anybody who doesn't know how to do it, it's dead easy. So if you have some type of hosting site, and whether you've got a website or not, you can still have a email address with a domain name at the end of it without the need to have a website. Because all that happens is that whatever the hosting site you use is, so it could be FastHost or Ionis or there's loads of them that are out there. All that it does is, if you use Outlook or Yahoo or Gmail or anything like that, if this was the Yahoo, Gmail, MSN, whatever over here or Outlook, and that's your domain, all that happens is rather than the emails go from a customer to here, it goes through here and it just gives it a different address, makes it look more professional. And it literally, you can do it for nothing. So when I see loads of businesses and independent engineers where they've not gone to the effort of just setting up a domain name and having it so their emails come from that address, I just think it's lazy. Because of, and what it generally is as well, is because they don't understand how to do it. And then to go away and look at how to do it scares them. And then they think, oh shit, I'll need to get somebody else to do it. I'll just pay them to do it and it's too expensive. And then the expense puts them off. Well, it's actually easy. So if any of you haven't done it yet, hopefully by the end of tonight, you were thinking, right, first thing I'm going to do now is go away and change that because I want to alter the image that I present to people because I want to make them more interested in buying my services. Any questions? Any thoughts?
Can I bring one up on the email as well, please?
Yeah, of course you can.
One of the biggest things I've noticed a difference is probably when you send in an email as well. So I've got obviously admin at Them Paint Guys, which is my body shop. But I put a description essentially on the bottom of or the start of my email with like links to Facebook reviews, links to Google reviews, then basically links to certain cars that I've done that go to my Facebook page. So people could see a type of car. And then there's a link there to see the work throughout. And I think that's been probably one of the biggest turnarounds for me getting more jobs in because people will look at the email. Underneath will be my quote. Then they'll see 3 different links essentially above it. And I've had so many responses saying, thanks for the email, looked at all your work and that looks amazing. Let's get booked in. So on the email side, I think that's been one of my biggest things is putting more information on the email that goes out.
So the queries I get from you guys, and I get all sorts of random queries come through, random emails, and a lot of people on the group think that they know me because of what input I put in there and how I chat to people. And then because they think they have that familiarity with me, they'll send me an email. And then what they don't understand is I've got no idea who they are. And they go, hi, Tim, I've got a query. Can you answer this for me? I need it urgently. And then they don't tell me who they are, where they're from. They don't give me what part of the country in. They don't give me a contact number to speak to them on should I want to speak to them, rather than just email for them. And they've not even told me what it is they want help with. So part of the art of communication, and I said the simplistic part is just having an email address where it lets people know you're a business, is you also want a signature on your emails. So going back to what Shane just said then is all a very relevant, pertinent point. But and also you've got the end part of this as well, is that how many of you ask for reviews? How many of you put it on your emails?
Yeah.
Never.
So I'll show you. So this is my email address. So this is my signature off the bottom of what I'm doing. So in purple, so make it nice and bright for you. Please leave me a review if you like what I do. Click here. Just so you get the hint, I put it underneath as well. And Google feedback here. And then I've got a link to my socials. Now, probably what I'm going to do now. So the first one, what I'll do is I'll do it somewhere like Trustpilot. and then the second one I'll do to Google. At the moment, I've got them both on Google because I had an issue with Trustpilot. But again, if you got an email from me, the instant you see my branding, you know it's from me, don't you? Because you can get an email, you have to read all the way through it and get to the name and person at the end of it. I have branding on the email, so the instant you see it, you don't have to read anything. Now, what you've also got as well is that you can also get little icons as well that come up on the top of the email, and you can get it also populates them as well, which is something else that I do. But you want to make sure that anything, so this isn't just specific to advertising and marketing and branding and communication. This is business in general. Whatever barrier might be in place of a customer to stop them from using you as a business, you need to remove it. So if it's, can you get my car repaired tomorrow? I'll do it today if you want. It's going to cost you, but if you want it that time, I can do it. Like, I need an estimate on my car. Can you tell me how much this is going to cost? But I need it for next week for my insurance company. Yeah, no problem. But yeah, you need to explain your terms and conditions. I've got a vehicle that needs doing, but it needs to be done, you know, in a certain amount of time. But I don't care how much it costs. It's like, well, again, so anything that you might think has been a barrier. I've damaged the company's, you know, I've got a company that I work for. I've damaged the car, but I don't want to know I've repaired. You know, I've damaged it. Is there any chance you can repair it without them knowing about it?
I get a lot of that.
Yeah, and it's like,
Ching ching.
it might cost you twice as much, but but the same applies to your emails and to your written communication, your verbal communication, your phone calls. So don't send somebody an email without explaining who you are, what you do, and then giving them an opportunity to communicate with them. So if you want people to know that you've got a service, you need to let them know where you are to make sure your address is on your emails. You know, what's your preferred method of communication with them? Is it verbal or is it in writing? Now, for what I do, I can get literally 20 to 30,000 page hits a month on my website. I get a huge amount of traffic. I can get easily 6,000 visitors a month. And from that, I need to filter out the customers that I want to sell my services to. And I use techniques to do that within my website to filter through. So I just get the nice stuff at the end of it. But the pure volume of stuff that I get going through, it's very hard to manage it. Now, imagine if I had my phone number on my website, what do you think would happen?
You'd be harassed.
I'd end up looking like Debs when she's stressed in the morning when she's got a million phone calls coming through all my her. So what I do is I only earn money when I'm working. I don't earn, so if I'm doing a report or inspecting a vehicle or I'm in court or I'm doing a training session or I'm doing, you know, claims investigations, that's how I earn my money and that's how I charge for my services. I don't earn money picking up the phone. So if you go on my website, I make it explicitly clear I don't do phone calls. Don't try and ring me. Don't try and find my number. My preferred method of communication is by way of me website. Again, one of the reasons why I do that is that a lot of the requests coming through, every single person who thinks my website thinks what they've got is a unique, special situation. And it isn't. You know, I get millions of the same requests. So I have templates set up already where I've already drafted them out. And rather than me having to write a whole email about all their rights and obligations, I can literally go to my template, ping it and fire it across. Now, in the work that you guys do, how often do you think you deal with the same type of query? Put your hand up if you think you do. Yeah. So how many of you got some type of template on your computer set up for it? So I'd be quite surprised here with Debs actually, because I thought you'd be, because you're Mrs. Organised, Jim. I thought you'd have a proper template set up saying, you know, thank you for your request for an estimate. Here's the details of it.
I've got the same sort of thing I put in a lot. I don't. I used to have templates for it, but I'm not sure. Know what we've done with them now. To be fair, I mean, we get a lot more people just wander straight through the door than we do email inquiries.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
yeah.
So if any of you get any, again, because if you guys are all one-man bands, the only time you're earning money is when you're working on a vehicle, isn't it? And the last thing you really want to be doing is being disturbed whilst you're doing it, because how hard is it to get back into doing what you were doing before you were disturbed? So generally, from a psychological point of view, it takes you 15, 20 minutes to get your head around what you were doing before and get the same thing back into it, and get your mindset right. But the worst thing you can possibly do is when you're halfway through spraying a car, somebody comes in and starts mithering you. You're thinking, I'll just let it flash off, and then you forget. And then you're totally buggered. You're going, oh shit, I should have fucking. And it sets you back, and it could set you back half, an afternoon or a day. So certainly, if it's just you working within the business, you need to actually make sure that you manage your time effectively and efficiently. And you might wonder how this links into imaging and branding, but it's something that's important because as part of your business, you want to make people understand how you operate. So you want to tell them exactly what it is and how you do it, but also your trading hours, when you're open, when you're not open, the health and safety side of it. Say, like, we appreciate you might want to come in and chat to us. We're always open to a conversation, but you also need to understand that from a health and safety point of view, we can't have you walking around a workshop. How many people just walk straight through into your garage and you're working a thing and you're grinding away and welding and, in UV lamps on full fucking tilt and they walk past it, they're like, you're going to get a sunburn, but, burnt to hell. Because they're completely oblivious, aren't they? So there's things that you need to be doing all around being professional where you need to communicate this to customers because it's really important.
I do that. I don't take walk-ins, and I advertise on my website and we have signs outside the workshop that it's strictly appointment only.
Excellent.
And we will turn away somebody that walks in.
Yeah, it's a way to do it. And the important thing of that is that anybody who walks in on your site, you're liable for it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's a real dangerous thing where, I've got somebody called Nando's phone answering. I wonder if they've got any food with them. So it's a really important thing. So again, things like terms and conditions. So one of the most common things I see on the refinishers crew is that, so there's been 3 in the last week where the insurance company's decided to total the car, but the person wants to return the salvage on it. And then the insurance company is telling the customer that they need to pay the storage charges on it whilst it's on site. So excuse me if you think some of my responses are sarcastic, because generally it is, because it's a rhetorical answer to it. So I'm trying to prompt people into thinking. But the first thing on that then is, well, what's your terms and conditions? Well, as being professional, how many of you guys have got terms and conditions of contract for your customers? Not one of you. So how would I know what expectation you have of me entering into a contract? How much are you going to charge me? Do I need to pay an estimate fee? Do you want a deposit off me? Is it a booking fee? Do you want me to pay a deposit to pay for the parts up front? No, it could be a whole host of different things. In the event that we were dealing with your claim with the insurance company, and this is something else where I do train on different things where you need to understand what insurance is and how it operates, because insurance companies, they're there to underwrite your client's loss in the event an incident occurs. And what's happened is that the customers subrogated the rights to the insurance company to act on their behalf. So that's the important thing. They've passed their rights on to the insurance company to act on their behalf. It's still their rights. It's not the insurance company's rights. So you're contracting with the person. They enter into contract with you. The insurance company is then liable for any costs that arise out of that contract. That's why it's important you have a contract in place and your terms and conditions. So when the person comes in, the instant they come in, you need to be advising as part of your estimating process that these are our terms and conditions. So if we're repairing your vehicle, this is what we do, and this is the expectations and our customer service in the event. So put your hand up if you've got a complaint process and it's in writing. Yeah, Des, so you're smart ass. You're great. But it's only keep having the training. You should know by now. Well, this is something else. So how professional do you think it would appear to a customer when they approach you and go, and they see that you've got a complaint process in place on your website? You know, nobody wants to have a complaint. But if I was a customer and it had it in writing to say, you know, we're very, very proud about the level of services that you provide, the quality of work we've got, but, you know, occasionally things go wrong. And when they do, this is our complaint process. In the event that you're not happy with our services and what we've done, this is what you can do. And this is how we review it. Would you expect that of a one-man band? I'd be going, that's impressive, that is. That's a business that cares. And again, that's the image you're presenting. I'm not just going to somebody on the road who might just go, well, yeah, it's 500 quid, and then if it goes wrong, well, you can trot on. Don't care. Go away. No, I'm not interested. The quality of a business isn't in what it does right. It's how it handles things when it's been done wrong. Because the person who has something go wrong with a car, all you need is for them to go away on social media and start going off on one. And that can be your worst nightmare. And again, it can destroy your brand, it can destroy your image, it can destroy your reputation. How you manage those situations is one of the most vitally important things you can do in business. So having something like a complaint process in writing and it's on your website advising how you handle those situations will it will instill confidence into the customer when they come to your business. So going back to the email side of it, so making sure it's branded in your company details and it's also company colours. Like I said, you can get a little icon, stick it in the top of it. You know, you want it so that when you send an email out to somebody with their estimate, it stands out. So how many times have you had people say, can you ask, you know, they've asked you for an estimate, can you email it to me? And then they go, 3 or 4 days later, still not received that email yet. So it might have jumped in the junk box. So having something like a little icon in the top left-hand corner, something that makes your email distinct away from everybody else's, it makes it more noticeable. Now that can be important if you're chasing work. So one of the things that I go on about when I talk about advertising, marketing and branding and how to get work in and how to get the nice type of work is that I'll tell you to go about and research your local areas and your local demographics. And you might find that if you're on an industrial estate, that there's loads of other businesses out there, you know, that have company cars. Now, the first thing I'd be doing with that is finding out who the transport managers are. Well, if I received an email as a transport manager and it stood out over and above everybody else because the branding's nice and it looks professional and it comes from a professional address and it's got a signature at the bottom of it and it's a nice introduction, and then there's links to my website, and like Shane said before, you could have like videos and links on it showing about what your work's been. What image do you think that would present to a transport manager? Oh, I've got a link here. I can actually go to there. I can actually see what work they've done and how they've done it. Yeah. So things like,
I think with email as well, isn't there a thing about, there's a lot of companies now that have, you know, the privacy notice sort of, there's a bit of bump at the bottom. There's actually GDPR things of, you know, don't share this email with anyone else or like,
yeah.
I think so. There's some like legal things that's useful for you to have at the bottom of emails as well.
Yeah, and it's certainly from a GDPR point of view. There's some stuff that I have on mind, but then the problem I had with it was sometimes there's a limited amount of space you can actually have in your signature of how many things you can put in. And then because I've got things in terms of feedback for Google and for Trustpilot, I actually then thought that the thing that benefits me most is that rather than all the legal disclaimers. So it's very rare that anything will go wrong where an email will go out to the wrong person. I see aspiring in the background going, what's on screen there? Oh, we can see you. So got where I am now. I'm distracted by the redhead popping around the corner, having a nosy. Somebody bring me back to where I was a second ago. Well, what was that, Nando's phone? I didn't catch it. So yeah, so here's one for you as well. So you got your legal disclaimers and things on the bottom of an email. So just saying the reason why, you can do it, but I have it actually on my website as well. They basically say if you have received it and it's unauthorized, please delete it. But hopefully I'd expect somebody to do that fairly automatically. But how many of you, as an example, have, so this would be good for you as well, Debs, having a virtual walk round of your workshop about, or put your hand up if you've got a family. So how many have you got kids? Yeah. So when you go to work, do you go to work to give your kids a better life? Yeah. So
Do you
would you
get
say
go
that?
to work to get away from your kids?
I knew you were going to say that then. I was waiting for you to pipe up. I was wondering if I could redirect it around in your direction there, Deb. I'd just like to tap it that direction for you. So, would you say in general that women think the motor industry is fairly misogynistic and a very male-orientated environment? Yeah.
Yeah, probably. I mean, I think a lot of women think that they're going to get ripped off.
Yeah. So would you think it's intimidating?
It can be.
So then, imagine being a woman walking into a body shop. It can be equally the same for men as well, but it has more of a bearing psychologically on women than men. Where you walk in there and you see pictures of the owner's kids on the wall. What type of reaction would you think that it have on that person? Because automatically, subconsciously, they think, oh, they're a family person, they're not going to rip me off. Psychologically, you've got them straight away. Something as simple as that. If you did a virtual walk round of your workshop, I'd be wanting to see pictures of your kids on the side of the booth. Wherever it is that you work mainly, I'd be, and certainly, because I know there's some people within the repair industry where they might have split from the partner and, they only get to see the kids so often, and they share weekends or whatever with the other partner. The thing that drives them is wanting to spend time with the children. Well, again, from your own personal point of view, from a psychological point of view, having something in your working environment that motivates you, which being your kids, is something that can be really positive, but it also has lots of other side effects as well, in terms of if the public walk into your workshop, even though you really want them there, they walk in your reception or around, if they can see pictures of your family around them, they're probably more likely to warm to you, because they'll just think, oh, right, it's a nice family business, this. They're more than likely going to look after me. And again, so it's all about the image you present, and people's perception of being professional might not be the way you think it is. So on the one hand, you've got the corporate point of view, like I said, in terms of the way you write and the way you communicate and your emails and your presentation, your signatures and all the rest of it. But being professional can also be about being personal. So understanding the people you work with, because again, who do you think's the easiest person to sell to? And this is an interesting one. It's a really open question.
The person that needs it.
That's one type of person. But what if you're too expensive for them? Would they use you? They might need you, but would they use you? Can you think of anything else? I'll give you an example. The easiest person to sell to is somebody who you've already sold something to.
Hold yourself.
Yeah. So if you've worked with a customer in the past, the chances of them using you again are much higher than what it would be if they've never bought from you. So again, part of being professional is, do you keep details of all your customers? Now, part of what you can do is, how many of you have got a process in which you collect information from a customer when you're estimating a car? Do you just, somebody come in for an estimate and you just say, yeah, I'll do an estimate, or do you actually ask questions and go, well, can you just explain to me how it is your vehicles become damaged?
I have a form to fill out.
Well, not even really that. It can be, a form's good, but there's also other things you can do as well. So, how many of you have any type of sales training? Yeah, none of you?
No.
Okay. So, the most important thing of sales is asking questions. So rather than doing, for example, what I'm doing now, where I'm talking to you, you ask questions to people to find out what it is they actually want. And the thing is, what they actually might want might not actually be what they were originally coming in for, of how they're going to display, how they're going to explain it. Because people aren't in and this applies to any type of sales. Somebody might come in, for an example. Well, a good example for it is Ford. And the famous quote from Ford was that if people came to me and said they wanted to travel quicker, that they got, rather than selling them a car, they give them faster horses. So people thought, I want to get about quicker, I want a faster horse. It's actually, no, you want a car, you want a muscle car. So a lot of the time, people don't even know what it is they want. So when somebody comes into you, don't presume that they're there for the reason that you think they are. And a good example of this is that if somebody drives a vehicle into your place and says, I need an estimate, do you think that vehicle's their car? So put your hand up if you think it is. Would you just presume it's their car?
Yeah, I would. I would.
Yeah. So first question I'd ask them is, oh, so is it your car, this? What type of answers do you think you could get?
Company car.
There's one of them.
Hire car.
Two, yeah. Anything else?
Husband's car, they don't want him to find out.
Perfect. There's three. Could be the wife's car.
That, yeah.
Now, what do you think the importance of it being a partner's vehicle could be, being a husband or a wife? So going back to what I was saying at the start of it, if you think about the industry being a bit misogynistic and a bit male orientated, women might find it interesting. You might find that a husband's brought the vehicle in for an estimate because the wife doesn't want to take it there. What does that tell you straight away? Two cars in that household because he drives. I've now got two people I can sell to. Oh, right, so your wife's car, why didn't your wife come? Oh, she just feels a bit, oh no, tell her to come down, it's all right. Have you got a car as well? Oh, what have you got? Oh, I'm into cars myself. I've got a Porsche, for example. What have you got? Oh, yeah, I'm into cars as well. I'm a petrol head. Oh, great. All right, so you've got a nice car and you've got some disposable income. Great. Where do you live? Oh, it's rough as shit where I live. All the roads around our place, potholes everywhere. Yeah, it's an absolute pain in the arse in it. It's like tyres left, right, and centre, and cracking your rims and stuff to catch them. Yeah, I'm always doing mine. I'll bring it down, we'll refurb them. Just sold your wheel refurb. Do you know what the shame about that is? It'd be such a shame for you to come down and get your wheels refurbed and then the rest of the car doesn't look great. Why don't we get a machine polish when we're here as well? He's only come in for an estimate for his wife's car. You're not even seeing his car yet and you're already selling to him. Well, thing is, if we do that to your car, your wife's going to get jealous, isn't she? So while we're doing the estimate on your wife's car, now why don't we also do these other things as well? We can do it whilst it's in. In fact, why don't you treat her? Why don't you be a complete romantic? Ironically, this is what I did to my missus. I've got a friend, he's no longer at his body shop now, but this is what he did to me. He stood me left, right, and centre. So he owed me a favour and he painted the rear quarter on a car and he went, those wheels are a bit knackered, aren't they? So he got a wheel refurb out, and then he was like, it needs a machine polish, that, doesn't it, really? I'm like, yeah. And so a free job ended up costing me 300 quid, and he's a mate. Well, he knows I'm not going to say no because he's got me. So just because somebody comes in, don't expect them to be coming in for what you expect. try and work out why they're there, but also what other things do they need that they don't know they even need yet. So the other side of it, what Clint said, was it could be a company car. What bearing do you think that has on anything?
Company might be paying for it.
Could be one side of it. Do you think it's the only car the company have got?
No.
Do you think there's more cars you could be selling to there that you could be doing stuff with? Now imagine they're on your same estate as you. I'd be saying to them, so as an example, if you happen to employ a Saturday lad to come in, you could have him washing cars or whatever. I'd be saying, you know, once a month, what we do is we actually offer a free courtesy car wash if you want for your company cars. So if you've got 20 cars, yeah, you know, if you want to rotate them, we'll wash them once a month for you. Why do you think I'd do that?
Scratch it while you've got it.
Say again?
See any scratches in while you've got it.
Absolutely. I've been doing a vehicle condition report on them. Part of what you have as a fleet transport manager is you need to do condition reports on the vehicles because they need to do as part of the maintenance agreements for the leasing. So imagine you're doing something that helps him do his job. Do you think he's going to like you? Now imagine that you're keeping a condition report of every vehicle every month for him, and he knows exactly where they are and now they're deteriorating, and he's going to work out what it's going to cost him at end of lease. And you say, when these vehicles go off lease, the chances are you're going to get billed this amount of money by the leasing company. So before it gets too bad, here's an estimate. We've gone to the effort of providing an estimate for you to give you an idea of what it's going to cost to put all these different things right.
What we do now is polish that in.
I'm trying to work out where that was coming from. Is that from Nando's? I had a voice come out of the ether then. I don't know where it came from. I just said, we'll polish that in. Unless it's Clint being a ventriloquist.
Well, me.
It wasn't you. It came from somewhere. This is the thing when I can't see people's faces. I don't know who's talking. But again, so there's things there where it's working out how to upsell. But what you want to be looking at from an advertising and marketing point of view is that you want the best type of customers that you can get that earn you the most amount of profit, the least amount of effort. Now, if you think that if you start endearing yourself to these companies or to people, they're then more likely to reuse you again. Now, if you've got more customers that will reuse you again, which I'm sure you have, then you don't need to spend as much on marketing and advertising than doing a blanket campaign or something, trying to get loads of people, it's not really being effective. What it allows you to do is focus on the type of people you want. So how many of you do any type of research on what customers you've got? How many of you look back at what customers you've got? Have you tried to work out if there's any, consistency there? I like that. You know what was weird then? 3 of you all scratch your head at the same time. You went, yeah. Aside from Sean who did his beard instead, he did a me. You went one of them. These two have got areas like that. I would think that way. We're like that. So here's another important thing about keeping records of your customers. So it's not just about getting the names, addresses, and what they are. And even again, some people might think it's been a bit personal, but getting the date of birth. But you could say it helps with data protection because you need to protect. If they're ringing up about a job, you might need to go through data protection, which is a relevant point actually. So how many of you? I'm expecting Deb to say yes to this one because she's on the ball. How many of you are registered with the Information Commissioner's Office? Excellent, right? What about you, Russ? No? Shane?
No.
Paul? Brian? Chad? I think he's alive. Nando? Jay?
No.
No? Do you think you should be?
Yes, because you brought up.
Like it.
All of you are controlling customers' information. So as such, if you're controlling customers' information, you need by law to be registered with the ICO. Only costs you 15 quid a year. And just go on the ICO's website and put your details on it.
Never even heard of it.
Nor have I.
The Information Commissioner's Office. So you need to be compliant for GDPR.
Bloody hell, Tim, that's another job I've got to do now.
Absolutely. How many times do you see on the refinishers crew where people say, I want to do insurance work and do insurance contracts?
Yeah.
All
Well,
the
out of
time.
interest, who has a music license?
Yeah, you don't get too technical for them, Deb. I'm trying to be nice to them. They'll be
Yeah,
pulling the
'cause
brains out.
if you have any, like,
Radios, the background
yeah, if
tunes
you play
on.
music or anything, you're supposed to have a music license.
Yeah,
Just another fun thing.
it is. It's a pain in the ass as well, that one. Yeah, in a closed workshop, you're all right. Do you know the reason why?
It's the members of the public coming in.
Yeah, that's it. So if you've got music on where an audience can hear it, you need a license. If it's in a contained workshop where it's in the background, you don't. So that's another reason why you don't want customers coming into your garage, because otherwise you need to turn the radio off when they walk in. But yeah, with the ICO, so anybody then says to me like, right, well, I want to do insurance work. The first thing that an insurance company would want is to make sure that when they send you their client's data, that you're taking care of it. They would require you to be registered with the ICO. So if you're not, they won't even be like, if they've not bothered to do it now, they're going to bother to do it in the future. And we want to really only work with them. No.
You also need it for factoring invoices, like ACG ask for the ICO number.
Yeah, absolutely. Then going back to this, trying to get work from your local area, and you might be working with local businesses and fleet companies, or it might be that they've got company cars. Something as simple as seeing a business has got an ICO number, that will make them think straight away, they're on the ball, they're a professional business. You might not really kind of link the two things together without me pointing it out to you. But again, being professional is one of the most positive marketing tools you can use, because it's all about creating an image that people you're going to be working with. And it's about removing these barriers. Well, I'm not going to work with them because they're not registered with the ICO. I'm not even going to bother bringing them back. Well, take that off the table and show them that you are. And it's like I said with email addresses. It's clear it's a one-man band. Well, change your image. They can't. What you'll find is any company that want to work with you, they won't do much research on you. They want to find something when they see it straight away, it just makes them think, oh, they're just a legitimate business. If they can't understand who you are, what you do, and they do go away and dig, and then they do more digging and find out they're not what you think they are, then they definitely won't use you. So stop that from happening. All the things you want to do within your business, make sure you present that professional image straight away. So this is as an example. Do you think my office is a professional image? It drives my missus mental. She's like, straight away, we need to decorate your office. We need to get rid of all this clutter and shit and all the rest of it in the background. And, change things around and decorate it and make it so things are in the background. So that's something I'll be doing. I'll be altering my office and making it look more presentable. Guess how many people see my office? Not many. So if I do training, it might be on a one-to-one basis, so I know it's not going to upset you too much. But generally, I'll do stuff where I'm doing training in businesses, because the businesses that I'll train might have 10 or 15 people I'm doing training with. I'm inspecting cars, I'm outside on the road somewhere, I'm traveling around the country. And then if I'm doing claim stuff, I'm not in a situation where people can see what I do. So the only shop front I want you to see is my website. That's it. So it's my website and my emails. So I want to present an image from the stuff that you can see and go, well, that's it's a decent business, that. Giving that image all the time where it's just letting people see things. And in some way, it's smoke and mirrors. You're giving off an image and a perception of something that's not real. But in truth, Customers don't need to know it. They don't need to know the truth. All they need to do is have a perception of what they're working with. So a good example of that is, forgot what it's called now. The film Disney, where it's behind the curtain. Debs, help me out. My brain's gone. Walt Disney film where the Yellow Brick Road and behind the curtain.
Wizard of
Wizard
Oz.
of Oz.
Wizard of Oz. Thank you. There we go. You're all got it. Yeah. So, and it is like the Wizard of Oz. So, you know, in the film The Wizard of Oz, they're all scared of the voice, and the voice is behind the curtain. It's only when the curtain's removed, it's something completely different. There's no point of being scared in it whatsoever. The business is the same. You know, that shop front you put up is the curtain behind which you can hide. So you don't need people to know, you know, what goes on behind the closed doors at the back of it in terms of how your business functions. So some of the businesses that I've worked with, and certainly on the classic car restoration side of it. So how many of you read the body shop articles that I write? Do you all read them? So how many of you saw the interview we did with Tommy Bristow?
Aburrido. Ya, esto no es de nada de mí, que esto es en estos grupos de cosas de coches que estoy metido.
Just that who Nando is now. So there's a young lad called Tommy Bristow, and he's a panel worker, and he basically makes Ferraris from scratch. Now, in terms of what he's probably charging in his profit compared to when you guys are trying to, you know, make profit on your labor and you find your margins tight, he probably makes more money. If you saw where he works from, he operates in a cowshed. And it quite literally is. It's a cowshed. It's what it was. It's been converted, and he rents it off a guy who's doing some work for. Now, if he's making Ferrari Dino door skins from scratch, and he's doing it at half the cost of what Ferrari charge, would you be bothered that he's doing it in a cowshed if it's saving you $2.5 grand?
No,
Absolutely not.
Slightest.
Not in the slightest. He's going like, he's just saved me $2.5 grand. He can build it anywhere he wants. So part of what I've been doing with him is saying, well, you need to create an image different than what you've got. So it's quite endearing that you're doing this work and the skill sets you've got and you're doing it in this environment. However, you still want to, if you had a different shop front, you could probably charge more money. Now for him, this is what I'll get from all of you. You'll say, well, I got all my work from word of mouth. And again, it's something that on the one hand is fantastic, but on the other hand, it's not, because word of mouth is only as good as when you know what people are saying about you. So if someone says, yeah, he's great and he's fast and cheap, that's the worst type of word of mouth you want, because the customers you'll get will all want something great for not an awful lot of money. You want to avoid that out of play. Having a great reputation is fantastic, but I wouldn't want that association with being cheap. You know, I'd want somebody just to say, that business is fantastic. I'd use them because the quality of work is unbelievable. I wouldn't want even the cost to factor into it in any way. Can you recommend a good body shop to me? I can't recommend a good body shop to you. I can recommend an absolutely superb one. It's them over there. So any type of word of mouth you've got, that's what you want people to be saying about you, and that's why it's important. And again, the way you get that reputation is by the way you treat people, the image you present, whether it's face-to-face, whether it's in writing, whether it's on your website, the way you handle complaints. It's like Google reviews and Trustpilot reviews. Some of the responses I see to some of the complaints on there, and I just kind of go, oh no. And yet there's times when I can do stuff and I can be harsh on people. You know, I had one guy leave me I've only got one negative review on both Google and Trustpilot, and I very politely ripped this guy a new one in the nicest possible way. So I've still got no fear of letting rip on somebody. If I think they're talking, you know, talking shit, you can do it. But there's ways of doing it, of being diplomatic. And again, it's making sure that they can't go back to you. So as much as it's important to show a brilliant image about who you are and what you are and what you do, the way you respond when things aren't going right is also more important. So that's kind of a brief synopsis and cover of image and branding. I was going to probably keep it about an hour. I could potentially go on to 9 o'clock. So, who wants to continue further for another hour or so? Put your hand up if you do.
Yeah.
You all right? Cool. Right. I'm charging for this hour now.
I've got to go.
Out the window. Right. So I'll take a quick break. So I'm going to stop recording.